I just left a short memo on Instagram and said, you know what? Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. But you can't get anywhere unless you start, right? Uh, if you don't start, if you keep trying to be perfect, you're never going to get anywhere. So let's go ahead. Speaking of getting started, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with our presentation for today. What do you think? Give me a thumbs up or a Y if you think I should leave the video with my big head in the way, or should I switch up to the larger? Yeah, let's switch to the larger. We'll do the larger one. All right. Okay. So the topic for today, we're going to talk about breaking out of English learning ruts. Now, the tips that I'm going to give here, they will apply to just about any situation, whether you're trying to break out of a rut or whether you're trying to break out of an English rut or something like that. Oh, hi, Unyoung. Nice to see you. And we are, as I said, we're talking about breaking out of a rut. What is a rut? Somebody said that to me. What does that even mean? Well, that's an idiom. It's an idiom that means when you're stuck in a certain place and you just can't get out. A rut is what goes in the road. And hi, Chang. Hi, Cami. What goes in the road. And if you get stuck in a rut, it means your tires are stuck there. You can't get out. So it's kind of what happens. And so that's why we call that an idiom. We are going to talk really quick about that. One other thing that we call that is a plateau. When you're going really high up in your learning studies and then suddenly it just everything stops and you're not getting any progress. People get that when they're working out and exercising, going on diets. Anytime you're trying to learn something new, you're gonna run into plateaus and you're gonna fall into a rut. Like my friend Sarah, she's a 35-year-old office worker. Now, she was always interested in learning English and getting better with English, and she had a real passion for it. But she got to a point where she was feeling stuck in her studies because she never had time. She was always feeling like the textbooks that she was reading were boring, and she was studying for months and felt like she wasn't getting anywhere, even though she'd been, really putting in the work. And why Yolanda? And so what happened was she decided one day that enough was enough. She was sick and tired of trying the same old thing and not getting any different results, which is, by the way, the definition of insanity. If you keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting to get different results, that is the definition of insanity. I don't remember who said that. It might have been Benjamin Franklin. But so she decided she was going to find a way to break out of her rut. And so she started by trying new approaches. She started watching TV in English, watching movies with the subtitles on and with subtitles off. She tried listening to podcasts, talking with native English speakers. Hey, if you're one of my clients, does that sound familiar? If it does, give me that thumbs up and say, yeah, I know what you're talking about, Dennis. That sounds exactly like what you say all the time. Because it is. It's one of the best ways to get out of your rut. So, and what happened for Sarah? She really saw new progress. She started to make gains where she thought she never could anymore. So let's talk a little bit more about how we can make you feel more confident in getting out of your ruts. All right, breaking through the plateaus. So how do I turn the slide? There we go. Here are the slides. I told you this is my first time doing this. So today in this session, we're going to look at what a learning plateau or learning rut or a plateau is, why it happens, and some strategies for how you can get through those learning plateaus, get through those ruts. So let's start with that. What is a rut? I already told you it's an idiom, but what it means is if you are in a state where you're no longer making progress, whether it's in your English studies, whether it's in your workouts, whether it's at your job, whatever it is, despite all the effort you put into it, if you're not making any more progress, you might be in a rut. You might have reached a plateau. And while it can feel frustrating, and believe me, it does, there are ways that you can get out of it, okay? But don't let the lack of results stop you from trying to achieve your goals, whatever they are, whether they're learning English or anything else, okay? Because this is a common experience, right? I'm seeing the thumbs up. All right, good deal. Um, all right, so what are some of the common causes of getting into a learning rut or a plateau? Well, biggest one, lack of enthusiasm. You're just not enthusiastic anymore because everything's boring. It's monotonous. You're reading the same book over and over. Maybe you're watching the same, maybe you've tried watching TV or watching videos or reading articles. Well, if you do the same thing over and over and over, it's going to get old and it's going to lose its effectiveness. So mix it up a little bit. Try something new. And that's one of the reasons why. So, yeah, lack of enthusiasm because you're bored. You've got habitual study habits. So it's always the same every day, same in. And you just, maybe you just don't have a solid grasp of what your own abilities are. Because a lot of times this is mindset, limits of your knowledge and abilities. Sometimes you may think you're in a rut, but you're actually making progress. Sometimes you get to a point where you know a lot. You just don't know how much you know. Believe it or not, it's a real thing. I know it sounds crazy. All right. So, what are some tips that you can put towards breaking out of a learning rut? Well, number one, you got to set new goals. Because if your old goals, and I've done videos on goals. I've talked to a lot of people about how to set your goals. Most of my clients have already talked with me one-on-one on how to set your goals. We've written them down. We've talked about them and you know what you're doing. So give it a shot. Try changing your goals. Try experimenting with different studying techniques. I've already mentioned a few. You can change to a new textbook. You can try taking a new class. Try talking to your coach or your teacher about changing up what you do. Practice speaking with native English speakers more often if you can. Find a speaking group or find a coach or a tutor online. Watch movies. Really, watch movies or TV shows. Be careful with that though, because a lot of times the movies and the shows you might watch, they might be a little too specific. And you might watch what's that? You might watch a medical drama or something, and that's really exciting. But how often do you use medical vocabulary in your day to day life? Unless you're a doctor or a nurse, probably not very often. So be careful with the TV shows. If you want to watch a TV show, get something that's kind of general. That's why Friends is such a popular show for learning English, even though it's like 20 or 30 years old now. I think it's 20 years, 25. I don't know. It's a long one. And getting feedback from your colleagues, from your friends, from your tutors, that's all going to help you along the way. All right. So, what about? We already talked about trying a new textbook. Now, what about overcoming your learning plateau? Now, there's a saying you may have heard it: when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Oh, interview shows are good too. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Well, I'm going to change it. When the going gets easy, make it more difficult. You might be stuck in a rut because you aren't being challenged enough. I know it sounds crazy, but just because something is hard doesn't mean that it's not worth doing. So give that a shot. I mean, think about that. If something's too easy, that's a good way for it to get boring. So try to mix it up a little bit, make it a little bit more difficult. If you're reading a book, read a more difficult book. If you're reading articles, read more challenging articles. That kind of stuff is going to help you out a lot. So remember, practice your writing and speaking in English. Focus on the specific areas that you are most concerned with improving. Like if you struggle with grammar, focus on grammar. If you struggle with now, most of my clients don't worry about grammar. We worry about business stuff. We worry about conversations. So the best way to fix that is, what is it? That's right, talking, speaking with each other. So really focus on speaking as much as you can. All right. Now, we're going to move on. We're almost done with this little section here, and we're going to talk and we're going to get into a bonus section. We'll do a little Q&A. So I hope you've brought some questions tonight. Maintain your motivation. Okay. Motivation. I know I just did a video the other day about how motivation is not enough, but it is still very important to getting out of a rut or getting over a plateau, because that's what's going to set you going to start changing your goals. As I said in my video the other day, when you're trying to be motivated, you need to really, well, what's the word I'm looking for? When you are um, when you're only motivated, you're eventually, that motivation is going to die off. So you need something solid to hold you in place. Some plan of action to take, and keep taking those actions day in and day out. But it's the motivation that's going to push you over. It's the key to getting started. Tenacity. There's a good vocabulary word. Tenacity. It means the ability to hold on with your teeth, with your fingers, with your hands, even when things are hard. You just keep pushing through. That's tenacity. So you're going to need that in order to keep moving forward. That is what's going to keep you going. And finally, you've got to define your why. Find out what motivates you. What is your reason for wanting to get better with English? Why do you even care about breaking through this plateau or getting out of this rut? Why do you care? If you don't know why, then you might just need to give it up. I know it's a crazy thing, but I think when you think about what you really are, what you really want, you're going to find all that you need to maintain your why. All right. How do we maintain your progress? Once you've broken out of the rut, keep setting goals, keep moving forward. Okay. Keep looking for new materials, new resources to use. Ask your coach, ask a friend. Keep switching up your study techniques. I know for me personally, I get bored. I get bored if I'm doing the same thing over and over and over. So try something new. Try switching things up as much as you can. And of course, if you want to speak English, you've got to speak English. So talk to English speaking people as often and as regularly as possible. All right. So let me wrap this all up for you in a nice little bow. Number one, it's going to take perseverance. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to need to set some fresh goals. I know, Mandy, it's not easy to maintain progress, but that's why you've got to have a solid why. You need to know why you're doing it. Why are you fighting to get better and better and better? If you don't have a good definition there, I don't know what to tell you. Next one, experiment with new study techniques. Yeah, very important. Try new things. Make it spicier. If your food is bland, put in some salt. Or put some hot sauce on it. Hot sauce is always good. I love hot sauce. Maintain your drive and keep pushing yourself forward. And finally, never, ever, ever give up. If that is what you want, keep pushing towards it. Okay. Just because you're in a downtime or a rut or a difficult spot, that's okay. Just keep on pushing forward. All right. And that's really the total sum of my first presentation. Hey, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this short clip from my live show. Every Saturday night, I'm doing a live show where we'll talk about English tips, English study ideas, and just the types of things that you can do to improve your English. I hope you join us every Saturday night. Hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and check out this video if you want to know more.